Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by senior on the Framingham State women's lacrosse team, Regan Fein. Last season, Regan led the team in assist and ranked second on the team in draw controls. Regan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And how's everything going?
Happy to be here. Things have been pretty good. We're back at school, back in action, and ready to go for fall ball in the next week.
Yeah, how was your summer? Did you do anything interesting, whether it was lacrosse related or not?
I'm a camp counselor over the summer, so I love my kids, as rowdy as they might be. I'm out there. It's my hometown, so back in North Attleborough. But I was a sports camp director, so I got to meet a lot of cool people and work with a lot of cool people. And of course, I get to see my kids and help teach them different sports, lacrosse being among them. And outside of that, we just did a little summer league, and yeah, I was looking forward to the school year all summer. I should say that.
That's good to hear. And obviously, it must be nice to sort of give a different perspective on the game, coaching younger players, because that probably helps you out a lot once you get back to school with fall ball.
Absolutely, yes, of course. Especially, I do clinics during the winter as well, so it kind of translates, and it's nice to be able to like inspire the younger generations to play. Because I know when I was little, it wasn't as big, but hopefully we're building up the program as much as we can.
Now, what are you hoping to work on regarding for next season for your training?
Personally, I would like to work on just like my little like finesse abilities inside the crease. I've been more of an outside of the crease shooter. Um, I definitely am better with like outside shots, but I need to work on that game of catching in traffic, getting it in the middle, being able to dodge through traffic and just kind of like finding that perfect placement shot as opposed to just kind of being targeted as like the outside shooter. It's easy to lock somebody down if they only have that one aspect. So I'm really trying to work on my inside shooting and just finding my way to the goal.
Now, obviously, you're a senior this year, which is probably crazy for you to think about. That's gone by so fast. So, have you thought about what type of leadership you want to bring to the team? And would you consider yourself more of a vocal leader or lead by example type of player?
I definitely think that any good leader needs a balance of both. Personally, I think I am a little bit more of a lead by example type. I can be loud as well. Definitely, you can hear me on the field no matter where you're standing. But I'm definitely somebody that I know that if I show my level of commitment, that pushes other people to do the same. So I definitely say more of a lead by example. And I think that's kind of just where we're headed going into this season. It's no longer, somebody holding your hand all the time, but it's, see what you need to do and get it done. And I think that the girls are ready to take that on.
Now, when do you guys like officially start practicing as a team? How does that work for you guys in
Well,
particular?
NCAA actually was very generous this year and they changed the ruling a little bit. So we used to only do, like 3 practices a week. And this year we're up to 4 practices a week. And that starts next Wednesday, actually. We take the field nice and early in the morning. And yeah, we're ready to hit the turf running, quite literally, actually. But yeah, we're up to 4 practices a week and we go for just about 2 months.
Do you guys do any captains practices as well?
Absolutely. Yep. And we've been doing like fitness challenges. We've been doing just things that both kind of get the team integrated with one another while also, getting our bodies and minds ready for season. So we've kind of been doing a little bit of both, keeping our six hot and going to the field whenever we get the chance.
Now, I do have to ask this because you are a senior as well, but have you had the chance to sort of, what's your impression of the freshmen been like so far, and how excited are you for them to be on the team? And like, what do you think the impact they might have on the team this year?
Well, we've got 5 coming in this year and we've all met them. They are absolutely amazing, attitude wise and just commitment wise. 2 of them are actually from towns adjacent to mine. So even though I didn't personally get to play them in high school, it was kind of cool to know that they were from that same conference, same division. And they definitely are going to bring a level of competitiveness that I think we need. They're ready to work, and I'm ready to work with them, and I can't wait to hit the field with them.
So I now want to sort of transition and start off from the beginning of your career and sort of work all the way up to where you are today. So from the research I did on yourself, like you mentioned, you're from North Attleborough, Massachusetts. So talk about growing up there and how did you start playing lacrosse?
Well, originally I have 2 older brothers, and I grew up playing baseball actually up until about 3rd grade, and it got a little slow for me, I guess. I didn't like getting eaten by mosquitoes out in the field all day, and I just had so much energy. So right when about most of the girls switched over to doing softball, I realized I didn't really want to do that anymore. And my older cousin was the one that actually mentioned lacrosse, and I had never heard of it. But as soon as I started playing, my parents signed me up for. We had a Triborough team, so it was me and it was our town and then two other towns adjacent. And I loved it as soon as I started playing. I knew it was a sport for me. And from there, I played with that Triborough league until high school. Actually, I didn't actually play town ball. I went right to high school after that, and it was just I fell in love with the sport. It was like nothing else. I'd played basketball and soccer growing. I still play basketball and soccer now, actually, but just lacrosse has always been the sport that I look forward to every year. Every chance I get, I'm down at the field or at the wall, just getting in some reps. But I really grew up through the sport, I think, and it's taught me so much. So I owe a lot to it.
Are you still like a big baseball fan though, even though you don't play anymore?
Not a huge baseball fan. I'll obviously go to some of the games like for our school and cheer on our friends, but I can't say I watch a lot. But I will tell you that if you ever were to come over my house, if you wear a Yankees hat, you're not allowed in the door. So definitely a Red Sox family.
Well, luckily I'm a huge Red Sox fan, so you don't have to worry about that.
Good, good.
Disappointing season though this year.
Oh,
But
yes.
hopefully some big changes are ahead, especially with what happened a few days ago.
Hmm.
Now, growing up, did you like watch a lot of lacrosse? And if so, like who are some of your favorite players and teams that you like the most?
Absolutely. I started watching probably when I was in middle school, and it's always been, again, there wasn't really a pro league back then. They're still working on it now, but I was huge into the college lacrosse scene, and Sam Apuzzo was definitely somebody that I looked up to in a huge way. Just her craftiness and her intensity. It was like if there was ever a game to watch, it was always like her, Kenzie Kent together, especially that duo. And then outside of BC, because obviously BC is my outside of my own college team, I'm a huge BC fan. But then Megan Whittle on the Maryland team as well. She was a huge inspiration to me and was just one of those like hard-headed players that you knew you give her the ball and she was going to put it in the back of the net. So those three people, I should say, are probably my biggest inspirations.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Have you had the chance to meet Sam Apuzzo? Because I know she does camps around here.
Not personally, no. I have had the chance to meet, like Charlotte North and stuff like that. We've run clinics with her, and she's super sweet. Really just a great person. But Sam Apuzzo, unfortunately, not yet. I'll cross it off the bucket list, I guess.
Well, I know that they won the national championship, or I think they played in the national championship game at Gillette Stadium in 2017. I don't know if you had the chance to see that at all.
I didn't, and I wish I had because of like Gillette is quite literally just the town over from me. I honestly think I was away that weekend with my family, and I was so mad about it. I was like, "You're making me go all the way to New Hampshire. I want to go watch lacrosse." And it was I really wish I could have been there, but I know that it's coming back to Gillette Stadium in a couple years, so hopefully I'll be able to make that one.
For sure, for sure, for sure. I remember I was on Instagram, I saw one of like highlights of Sam Apuzzo where she like broke someone's ankles like behind the net. I think it
Behind
was
the
a game.
crease. Yep.
Yeah, and that was a pretty cool highlight. So yeah, I definitely would have I wasn't obviously watched lacrosse back when you did, but that definitely was a player that I would have loved to watch if I
Yep.
did.
Just a great attitude too. She was always like willing to like you can watch it at any time if you see her on the field, off the field. She was just always motivating her teammates, and honestly, like that's just something that I would love to like be able to take after because that's just a fantastic outlook to have on both the sport and just leadership in general.
Now, you played high school lacrosse for your town in North Attleborough. So talk about your high school lacrosse experience and sort of what you took away from it. And do you have like a favorite high school lacrosse memory that comes to mind when you sort of look back on that period of your life?
Yes. So high school, it was interesting because I used to laugh about it, but the one thing that's been very consistent in my lacrosse career is inconsistency. I had three different coaches in high school. I loved them. They were all great, but it was always kind of interesting having to adapt to a different coaching style. And, it's kind of it's kind of translated to my college team as well. But um my teammates were super supportive and it kind of built me as a player in terms of adaptability. You never knew where you were going to play. One day maybe they wanted me to be a defender and then another day attacker. And then I kind of found my little like niche area in the mid, which was definitely something that spoke to me. But I just say my high school career, it was nice to be able to play with just a lot of different talent. And even now, just seeing where they ended up, I've been able to kind of like keep in touch with some of my teammates and just seeing how much that they've been able to accomplish too, it's been a great experience.
Now, how did your high school lacrosse experience sort of help prepare you for Framingham State? I assume, like you mentioned, playing with those different coaches and different types of players must have made you sort of adaptable to any situation. And that obviously helps translate in college because as a freshman, especially with your team, it felt like you guys were put in different situations since you had such a large class coming in.
I definitely say, yep, like you said, just that adaptability, but just mental toughness too. It kind of came down to the point where it was either they're the people that are going to put the work in and they're the people that aren't going to put the work in. And I knew I wanted to be that first group. It was just learning how to, throw your cleats on every moment you get, go to the turf, shoot around, ask your friends to go with you, that type of thing. Even though, with the different coaching styles, it was always something different. But I knew that what I could control was what I did, the work that I decided to put in. So I think it really was just that commitment level, learning that there isn't going to always be somebody telling you what to do. You need to tell yourself what to do, decide your goals, and go get them. And that was something that I think I kind of realized in that high school element, just realizing that it's on you. You do the work, and hopefully you see it work out in the end.
Now, what was your recruiting process like to Framingham State, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at?
Well, I looked at a bunch of different schools in the area. I knew I wanted to stay fairly local, nothing too far. But what really actually had me sold was just the team and the atmosphere that they made. It was actually the last school I looked at. When I originally was looking at schools, I was like, I don't know about Framingham. And, my parents were like, well, you might as well go tour. You might as well go look. And I was like, all right, fine. And I went and I met with the coach on the tour. He was the one that brought me around originally. And the campus is absolutely beautiful. It's smaller, which I liked, but it's very pretty and like not something I was expecting of a state school, but it felt like home as soon as I stepped on. And after the tour, he was like, you know what? You got time. Please come do an overnight in the next month. And so I scheduled one as soon as I got home. And it was just, I got there, and of course you're nervous, but I was there with a couple other recruits. In just seeing how the team interacted with one another, it was like nothing I was used to. They always make a really cheesy pun and say like, welcome to the family, because Framingham State Rams, but it really did feel like a family when I got there. They were just so close knit. And that was something that I wanted to be a part of. It wasn't just about lacrosse. It was about the experience I was going to get with that team and those teammates. And I know I made the right choice, because that's really just like the team chemistry we've built here. There's never somebody on the outside. There's never someone on the inside. We're all there together. We do everything together, which, for better or worse, sometimes we're around each other a little too much, but it's just really that atmosphere, that team environment. And you see the chemistry on the field too. It's not like it's just, in classes or during social events. You see it translate onto the field. And that is something that I think is really special here.
Now, as a freshman, what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse?
I'd say just the pace. Like, obviously, in high school, there's a big division between a lot of the teams. It's, you give it to these two girls and they score. So it's easy to kind of like shut those people down. Whereas college, you're a much smaller fish in a much bigger pond. And it's just that constant go, go, go. It's never, just isolating one or two people. It's kind of finding how quickly the ball moves from one player to the next. And it's also just bringing your mental game to the next level. It's no longer just about the physicality, which is obviously a lot higher. You're going to get bodied, you're going to get bruised, and that's just part of the game. But it's the mental aspect of, learning how to play into different teams and how to approach them differently depending on what their strengths and weaknesses are. So honestly, I think just that lacks IQ, but also just the pace of play and how quickly the ball moves. Those were two huge adjustments.
Now you play in the MASCAC conference. What's that like, and just the competition that you face each game?
It's definitely an interesting conference. There's a lot of diversity. There's some teams where you go in maybe a little bit more comfortable, and there are some teams that you go in and you're angry right off the bat. You came to compete and that you want to play. So I'd say it's definitely a good mix of both. And some of the games it's nicer because you're able to kind of implement some new aspects that maybe you've been working on that week and see how they work out. And other games, it's you get on that turf and it's a business trip. You get there and you work. And I think that those teams, I definitely look forward to the games where you work hard. No one is coming off of the games where you're up by 15 goals and saying, wow, that was a great game. A win's a win, obviously, but I look forward to the games where I want to sweat, I want to compete. And if we come out with the win on those, like those are the ones where you're really learning and pushing yourself. So I think we just definitely have a good mix of talent in the MASCAC, and the teams that show up, and that's just how it's been the past couple of years.
Who's like your biggest rival? Who would you consider, I guess, your biggest rival? Because
Definitely,
I feel like for different sports, it's different teams. It feels like.
absolutely, yeah. I've obviously because I play soccer and I play basketball here as well, so it's definitely different depending on the sport. But for lacrosse, I gotta say Westfield State, they're a very talented team. I'll accredit them that 100%. They know how to work as well. They have a very strong coaching staff, and their girls they go there to compete. Like I said before, they show up, and it's always a grudge match between us. But like I said before, those are the games I look forward to. It's never the easy ones. It's the games that are gonna push you to play your best lacrosse and hopefully push them to play theirs. And we've seen them the past 3 years now that I've been here. We've seen them three of the times in the championship game, and a couple of those have been heartbreakers. And they know that, and we know that, and it's definitely been a lesson and a testament to mental toughness. You're gonna lose those games sometimes, even though you give it everything you got. We've lost twice now to them within the last minute of the game, and those hurt. They hurt, but that hurt is what pushes you to do better and to compete harder the next time. So honestly, it's a great testament to them and their coaching and their players. I love playing them. It's something I look forward to every year. I know we circle it on our calendar. Hopefully they circle us on theirs, but we'll be seeing them actually a couple times going into this year. Maybe once during the fall, and then during the spring, it's go time.
For sure. I feel like the fall game is probably a little less intense, though, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Because
it's
it's mostly
typically
trying to like implement systems. So,
exactly. It's a lot of the fundamentals, kind of figuring out your team chemistry. But I know that we'll be going into that game with a bit of a chip on our shoulder, a little bit of let's just say we're ready to compete for that game.
yeah.
It's not going to be the full thing because we'll be playing about 5 games that day, but we're ready to take it to the Owls. It's always an Owls and Rams grudge match. I
Yeah.
can tell you that much.
Fall is weird because at least fall ball is weird because usually in the spring you're obviously focused on trying to win the game, but in fall you're more focused on like working on mistakes that you can fix up. And that's the something I find really strange about lacrosse is the one time where like the fall ball isn't really about like obviously you want to win the game, but it's really about like developing systems and stuff like that. That's more the focus. Because I
For
remember
sure.
someone telling me fall is for the freshmen and spring is for the seniors. And that's sort of like the mentality that a lot of teams have, that at least from players I've talked to so far.
It is. It absolutely is. It's that beginning fall ball season. It's kind of, it's finding your team chemistry. It's finding, letting the freshmen know where they kind of fit in terms of on-field play, and just getting that comfortability with one another. Obviously, we see each other off the field a ton, but just, seeing where we all play together, the chemistry that's there. And like you said, the spring is for the seniors because as soon as that spring season comes around, you play every game like it's your last. Um, I know the seniors that graduated a couple years ago, they said the same thing. They said, with what happened with COVID, you really don't know when it's going to be your last game. Things can change just like that. So you have to go into every game with the mentality that I'm going to give it everything I have because this is my last season and you got to leave it all out in the field. That's how it is.
Now, what would you say is like the biggest improvement you've made to your game throughout your time in college?
I was always a very hesitant attacker. I'm not gonna lie. I think I have, to talk about me specifically, I think I have a very good like field vision. I've been the assister for the last couple of years, just finding the open person and letting my teammates go to work. But my coaches the past couple of years have been huge on, telling me like, you have that ball on your stick, go to goal, find the back of the net because it's not that I don't have the capability. It's just sometimes it's not what I look for when I get down the field. and they're like, you've got the speed, you've got the ball on your stick, and you've got the capability to do it. So I think that the past year or two has just been, instead of feeding, you just take them. Just take them. You've got the size, you've got the speed, go to goal. So those have definitely been the biggest changes that I've had. Obviously, my freshman year, that hesitation set in because of the newness to the whole environment, the college game. But now it's become, I should have this. I should have this many goals, should have this many assists. And of course, we're not like forcing that. It's not about the stats. It's about the team play. But I go into every game and my coaches are looking at me saying, you need to get out on that field and put the ball in the back of the net. And honestly, I've taken that to heart. So I think that's been the biggest change to my game.
Yeah, because you mentioned in your high school career that you had to be adaptable in different situations. And one thing I really noticed about your game was how versatile you were, because you have very good offensive and defensive stats. And that's a credit to the hard work that you've obviously put in. So how do you work on your versatility, whether it's in the off season or during a season? Because that's something that really stood out to me while researching you for this podcast.
It's definitely, honestly, I would say in a great amount. Playing basketball has been a huge benefit to my defensive game. Just knowing how to like stay with your girl, that physicality of it, staying on her hips, making sure that they don't have that chance to turn and shoot. That's honestly just being able to use the skills that I've kind of acquired through other sports and implement those into my game during lacrosse has been a huge benefit to my game. And then honestly, another huge aspect of it is just making sure that I'm staying in shape, making sure that I've always told the girls that, like, you might not always be the most talented girl on the field, but if you're not the hardest worker, that's something you can't control. So I think, and in terms of my defensive game, it's always just been about hard work. Be there first, get down the field before your girl. And, if you do that, if you cross off X, or if you cross off A, B, and C, X, Y, and Z will happen. But in terms of the transition, honestly, that's what I look forward to. I like getting on that field and just running, just showing that I'm going to run faster and I'm going to run harder and I'm going to run longer than anyone else on that field. And if someone else is beating me, that's not good. I'm not doing my job. So I think in terms of hustle, that's just kind of where I reside. And then on the offensive end, I've had the benefit of working with two other seniors this year who have actually really pushed me to do my best. Rachel Erickson being among them, and then Hannah Guerin, who has really just been an inspiration to me. And she motivates me to do better every day, because she's also somebody that just leads by example. She knows what to do. She gets that ball and she goes to goal with it. And even though she might not always be the most vocal person, you watch her play and you want to play like her. So I think, honestly, just both my teammates and my teammates from other sports have just pushed me to have that versatility.
Now, you were second on the team in the stat, and we're obviously called the Draw Control Podcast. So I have to ask you, what are some of your circle strategies that you're willing to share? I don't want you to give away any secrets to any of your opponents that might be listening to this, but if there's some sort of insight you want to share, feel free to do that. Or if you just want to skip this question entirely, that totally makes sense.
No, I'm totally okay with talking about it. Honestly, a huge thanks goes to our assistant coach, Dave Planchet. He has been a huge help. I came in from high school. Obviously, in high school, they kind of just teach you, just push the ball and get it in your stick, or pull the ball and get it in your stick. He has broadened my education level on draws immensely. I feel like he's just kind of been like that guiding hand throughout the entire college process of it. But myself and, Rachel Erickson and this year Molly Lanier we've just been a cohesive unit. Like, that was our big phrase that we like to say is win the draw, rule the world. So if you have that ball in your stick, if the other team doesn't get a chance to possess it, they're not scoring. If we do, we score. So in terms of tactics, Rachel's normally big on the draw. She's good at placing it where she wants it to go. And we just kind of have that system, which I'm not going to talk too much into it, but we have our system of she knows where she's going to put it, or, if she doesn't have it, she knows where the other girl's going to put it. And she's able to kind of communicate it with us through just like different motions and stuff, different like language we kind of use. It sounds like a totally different language when you get out there, but she'll be letting us know. She kind of guides us. And I think for me personally, I'm better with the, in the air game. Obviously my height plays a good like factor into that. Molly, she's great. She's got the hustle and grit to get on the ground and get those ground balls. But altogether, we are just a very cohesive unit in the center and like in the midfield. And I hopefully people are scared to go up against us because that's kind of what we try to bring to the table.
So this past season, like you mentioned, you lost to Westfield State in the MASCAC championship game. Even though you lost that game, what did you take away from your team's performance this past season, and how do you hope to build off of it this fall?
It was definitely a tough game for me personally. I didn't see the field as much as I thought I would, just through some yellow cards that totally my fault. But I think in terms of what it's brought to our team, it's mental toughness, 100%. It's relentlessness. They, no matter what Westfield seemed to throw at us, they did not give up. It was a fairly tight game up until the end. We didn't really have the wheels under us, and we didn't really have a lot of legs to sub in. So I think it was just kind of that mental toughness of this is what is being handed to us, and we just have to take this and quite literally run with it. We can't always control what's going on around us, but we, like I said before, we can control what we put in. And those girls, they work like we work, and that is just kind of our mentality going to everything this season.
What's your team's goals and expectations for this upcoming year?
Of course, we want the championship. We want the medal. We want the trophy, but we want to see NCAAs. We had the chance to go not this past year, but the season before that, and it was an amazing opportunity. We got to see a lot of really great competition out there. We're going into this season with the expectation of a championship. And I know that Westfield and, the rest of the MASCAC teams are probably expecting the same thing, but I think we've got what it takes this year. We've got the mentality, we've got the physicality, we've got the talent, and we're just going out there to compete.
Yeah, I know the trophy case at Framingham State is getting a little dusty, so I feel like you need to clean it up a little bit.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. We've got high expectations, that's for sure.
So I will now want to transition and do a segment I like to call 5 questions that have nothing to do with sports. And the goal of the segment is to hopefully get to know you a little bit more off the field. So the first question I have is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
To play me? Oh, goodness. Oh, I need to think on this one, I guess. Who would I want to play myself? Probably. Oh, my goodness. This is going to be hard. Jennifer Lawrence.
Mhm.
I've been told that my voice kind of sounds like her sometimes, and honestly, I just love her as an actress, so I'd have to go with Jennifer Lawrence.
Now, what's the most underrated holiday and what's the most overrated holiday?
Underrated? Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. It's just like a great time. You go, you eat good food. Sometimes you see family and stuff. And it's also the same as my birth month. So I love Thanksgiving. Overrated? I mean, I love Christmas, but you got to pay a little respect to other holidays, I guess. I think I shouldn't say it's overrated because I do love it myself, but I think we got to owe a little more respect to other holidays too.
I think Christmas is properly rated. It's clearly the best holiday, so I think it deserves all of the attention. It's kind of
It
like LeBron James. Like, people get mad about all the media attention he
does.
gets, but it's deserved because he's one of the best basketball players of all time. So that's sort of how I feel about
Yeah,
Christmas.
I think a little bit of my thinking along that is I don't like when they start advertising for it when it's not even Halloween yet.
But they do it for Halloween too, and first day of school. First day of school stuff comes out in July, which I think is a little ridiculous. And
Okay,
then
fair enough.
Halloween, I assume if I went to the store now, they would have some stuff out for Halloween.
Yeah, well, I'll get a lot of hate for this, but I am a firm believer in I can't listen to Christmas music until after Thanksgiving. And a lot of my friends will already start listening to Mariah Carey, and I have to I'll be like, no, I'll turn this car right around. I will not do that. I
Yeah.
have to wait until after Thanksgiving.
I would say overrated for me is New Year's Eve, just because you're waiting for a clock to turn midnight and that's kind of boring. And then
Yes.
underrated, I would say, is 4th of July. That's a good one. Even though this year it sucked because it rained, but usually
Yeah,
it's
it was
fun.
tough this year. No, New Year's Eve, that was a good one. Honestly, I do like that. But I like to see a lot of my friends then. So yeah, gathering around just to watch a ball drop, not really my biggest priority that day.
No, I'm usually watching football probably. So,
That
um,
makes sense.
now what's the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
I saw something and I looked it up, so it is true. I'm a little heartbroken. I found out that the song Year 3000 by the Jonas Brothers is not by the Jonas Brothers. It's a cover. and my heart broke a little bit. It's by like some British band, and I just grew up my whole life being like, yeah, they made this banger, and then found out it was not even theirs. So that one, oh, a little crushed.
I'm assuming they did write or were involved in other hit songs that they've made that I really like. Like I love the song Cake by the Ocean. I think it's so catchy, and I'm pretty sure one of them probably wrote it. So I would
Because Joe
imagine.
Jonas is that singer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And then Jealous, that's a good song. Nick Jonas wrote that.
great
So
song.
they have good songs they've written. So I'm not gonna knock them too much on not writing one song.
No, I still love the Jonas Brothers, but that song was
Mhm.
like, oh, part of my childhood. We've got Burning Up and SOS that are still on the playlist ready to go.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Those are two good ones. I saw them in concert a few years ago, and it was one of the best
Really?
concerts I've seen. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So,
I'm jealous.
um, I definitely enjoy listening to their music as well. I would say
Hmm.
for me, I've been really obsessed with Deion Sanders at Colorado. Just seeing all those videos. I don't know if you've seen them, but
I haven't seen him yet now.
I just think he's so like funny and awesome. And like one of the coaches he's playing this week, like said something about their team and now he said it's like it's personal this week. So and now every time I'm walking around the house, if something happens, I'm like, now it's personal.
No,
And
it's
then he
personal.
gave his like team sunglasses and he keeps saying like he has these sayings that I keep saying to myself now because I just think he's I don't know I've seen there's something about him that I like.
Yeah.
Now last or two more non-lacrosse question is what is one item on your bucket list that you hope to accomplish one day?
Bucket list. I mean, I would be cliche and say skydiving, but honestly, I want to go bull riding. I want to try to ride a bull one day. And I know that's really not a smart idea, but like imagine being able to be like, yeah, I've ridden a bull. Even if it's for like 3 seconds, just to say I've done it. I think that'd be pretty neat.
No, no. I feel like those things like really like I think people get paralyzed sometimes from doing that stuff, which I wouldn't want to risk that if I'm being honest for myself.
Maybe I'll
I,
wait till I'm like, 50.
yeah, I don't know. I personally would not I'm usually a guy that let's just leave animals alone. I think we bother them too much anyway sometimes. So
True.
I would say for me, probably just travel different spots. I haven't really traveled a lot, so I think that'll be fun to do.
Yeah.
Probably like California or like Canada or stuff like that.
I've always wanted to go to Iceland. It's absolutely beautiful over there. And I've seen so many videos and like a lot of movies are filmed over there. But I'd love to go to Iceland one day.
Now, which player on the FSU women's lacrosse team has the best off the field style besides yourself, obviously? So who would you
Oh.
put number two? I think that you have the best style on the team just because you're on the podcast right now, but who would you
I
say
don't know
is the
about off the
best?
field. I'm definitely more of a function over fashion girl when it comes to off the field. But if I'm gonna be totally honest, Hannah Guerin, she has amazing style, and like every time I go out, I'm like, girl, like calm down, you're making me look bad. But she's humble about it. She'll blush if you say anything, but she absolutely I'd go with Hannah Guerin.
Now let's get back to some lacrosse questions now. What should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
What should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
To help grow women's lacrosse, honestly, like I think players like just like Charlotte North have been huge to the game. Obviously, she's one of the biggest names in women's lacrosse right now, and even still in the pro leagues, she's just been absolutely dominating. So I think that like just having more of that coverage. My friends like to say that every time I turn on the BC game, they'd be like, "It's always just the Charlotte North show," which is totally not true because that team is absolutely jam packed with talent, whether it's Jen Medjid or like a couple years ago, like Sam Puzo, absolutely just a stacked team. But having that media coverage on college games like that, I think is just bringing more like girls into the program, and I absolutely love to see it because each year you'll see the talent grow and grow and grow because they're inspired by the generations before them. So I think honestly that's just been a huge pull.
Yeah, for sure. I remember watching BC for the first time because it was my first ever game I watched this past season. And obviously, Charlotte North wasn't on the team yet, but like they had so many talented players that I really liked. And I've had the chance to interview some of them as well. Like Hunter Roman, I thought was such a great defender to watch. And obviously, Mallory Hasselbeck's a really fun player to watch. And I feel like those players probably don't get enough recognition that they should. And I feel like hopefully this podcast helps that out a little bit. So
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I played against Sydney Scales in high school, and that was not a fun experience to say the least. She's a very like dedicated player, and she just puts in the work. But that whole fan base, as like they are amazing. Just we go to a lot of their games because they are, right down the road from us. But we went to a game last year actually, and they love wearing their neon. And we walked in, and it was actually Holly Schleicher's mom just stopped us in our tracks, and she was like, "You guys, we had our BC merch on." She goes, "You guys need to come with us." And we're like, "Are we in trouble? Like, what just happened?" She brought us over to where they were tailgating and just like gave us all shirts. She was like, "Yeah, give them to your friends." Like, they're just such a supportive community, and like that aspect of just being there in that crowd. Like, I love seeing their rowdy crowd, and like their parents, they get so into it. So that's, they're just, it's funny because my parents always are saying like, you can't be a college fan, you're in college. And I'm like, yes, you absolutely can, because their team is just absolutely insane, and I love seeing them play.